What if I told you a few pieces of copper wire, some beads, and a little bit of creativity could turn into 5 stunning sun catchers? In today's video, I'm sharing 5 different copper wire sun catchers, from beginner-friendly designs to eye-catching statement pieces that look far more complicated than they are. Whether you love crystals, spirals, beads, beachy vibes, or elegant window decor, there is something for everyone. Grab your wire, some pliers, maybe a snack, and let's get started. Today we're making these copper wire with a crystal window charms. The materials needed today are 10 gauge copper wire. This is size, and it's better to always have a bigger piece of wire than, of course, a shorter piece. This is 28 inches long, and that is about 72 centimeters. Okay, so copper wire, cutters, flat nose, needle nose, and then your crystal and any other beads that you would like. We might also be using, depending on if I'm putting beads, I might be using a 20 gauge or 22 gauge copper wire. Okay, and we need something to wrap the copper wire around just to form the shape that we want. This is kind of an oval at the top. Funny, it's round at the bottom and oval at the top. So I'm going for an oval shape, so this is perfect. And I am taking my copper wire pretty much in the middle. And before that, I'm just doing a loop in the middle, and this is going to be so that I can dangle something on the bottom. So we're just taking our needle nose pliers and making a loop, just like that. Okay, and then we're going to take our shape for forming and moving the copper around the shape. Like I said, I wanted not a circle exactly, so I found this, which is perfect. And you're trying to get the cross at the top pretty much in line with the loop. If it's a little off, that's okay. Perfect. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap wire right here, so I'm actually just going to straighten these wires, again, pretty much in the center. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to try and make it as much in the center as possible, and we can reshape it. Okay, so that looks a little wonky, so I'm going to try and reshape it, and moving this one over a bit. Okay. Moving that over and up. You don't have to put this in, it's just a detail I wanted to add. So just adjust it as you go. And I think we're good there. And I'm going to move it over so that it goes up there. Perfect. And then you take your pliers and you squeeze together where you want it to go. There we go, like that. Perfect. And then I'm going to take some copper wire. I'm probably going to use, let's see, I'm going to start with a 20 gauge wire and go from there. So I'm just going to, it's more for decoration, but it also helps to keep it closed. Oh boy, I need to organize my copper wire. Okay, and we're closing it here, and we're just going to wrap it around nice and tight. Like that. You can use pliers to keep it tight. You could actually put it in a vise if you want to keep the wire closed. But for now, I'm just going to do it this way and pull nice and tight. Use your pliers on one end. It'll help to pull it together to make it stiffer. Pushing this together more. There we go. Oh, there we go. And wrapping nice and tight. Perfect. And then going the other way with this. So I'm putting the pliers like that to keep it flat, and then pulling on this end. That's working perfectly. Good. Okay, and like I said, handmade charm doesn't have to be perfect. Cutting off the excess here, putting it together, and then I'm going to do 2 spirals. This wire's a little longer, so I'm going to, that's perfect. And I'm actually going to cut this one about 2 inches, and we're going to do a spiral just to make sure that I didn't want the spirals matching on each side. So I'm making one lower than the other. Okay, and then going down. You can have fun with this. You don't have to do it exactly the way I'm doing it. Okay, one is this way. You could match the spirals if you want, but I'm actually going to twist this one over like this some, and just to make it a little different. And then taking this and doing another one. So they're going to be lined up vertically, and that's kind of how the design I was thinking in my head. Now let's see how it works. Okay, well, they're not vertical, but when you're hanging it, you want to make sure that it hangs nicely. So just take a look at it and see if you're satisfied with how it is. And I'm satisfied with that because it's going to hang nice and straight with just a little thing off to the side. Just a fun little detail. Okay, perfect. I have a fun little detail here. Now, the next part of this is I didn't think I was in the beginning, but I'm actually going to hammer this. You don't have to hammer it. I just like that it adds a little bit of texture and it flattens it out a bit. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now I'm going to take some 16 gauge wire, and not too much of it, to wrap it around the top and to make a loop so that I can hang the crystal. You could have done this whole wrapping in 16 gauge, and that's probably what I should have done, but I'm going to do this now. Okay, so we're just wrapping it around. I find sometimes with the thicker wire, it's sometimes harder to wrap it to keep it in place, but this seems to be working out rather nicely. So 16 gauge wire would have worked too. Okay, just adjusting it, and then we're bringing it through and down so that it's in the center. Bring it a little more to the center here. Good, and this side can be cut. Actually, yeah, this side can be cut off. Sometimes I get so involved in the craft, I forget that I'm filming. So sorry about that. We will try and work on that. And just cutting off one side, making sure no parts are sticking out, flattening it all, perfect. And then with this one, I'm going to cut so that it's about 1.5 inches, like that. And I'm going to make a loop in the center here. And this is for hanging the crystal. There we go. Perfect. There's a loop right there. We're doing well so far. Just going to adjust, adjust, and adjust. There. Okay, amazing. Okay, for the crystal, I think before I put the crystal in, I'm just testing out what would look nice. And I have a little flower here. And I think I'm going to put the flower and then the crystal, and that way it takes up all the space. If you don't have a crystal, another option could be just doing a spiral wrap around a shell and hanging that in the center, and that would be beautiful as well. Nice and simple. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of 16 gauge wire, and I'm just going to do an S-shaped link so that I can hook the little flower to the top. Perfect. And then the other side. It's a very easy link. Now, because you want it in line, you've got to watch out where your one link goes this way, the other link goes this way. Closing that link and opening this one, just like that, so it's hanging. And lately, I have been doing wire, like a thin wire to wrap around, and I love the texture of that, so I'm going to do it again, I think. This is a 22 gauge wire. Before I put the crystal on, I think I'm going to do that and just grab any wire, and I'm just going to do it around the sides here just to add a little bit more texture. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can wrap however you want. You can also use a 20 gauge wire. Actually, yeah, 20 gauge wire, 22 gauge wire. I wouldn't go any smaller than that. And again, it's adding a very interesting texture to it. Oops. There we go. And then just keep it going. Yes, I am that person that changes the design as I go. I really think it needed a pop of color, and I thought that the crystal would actually go nicer below it. So I have this green glass bead that I'm going to use. This is 16 gauge wire that I'm cutting off. And I'm cutting off a substantial amount because I'm going at the bottom of the bead. I am just going to do a spiral. Oops, there we go. Just a little spiral like that. And then I'm going to do a back and forth design, a squiggle. Let's see how this works out. There, perfect. Flatten it. I could hammer this, but I'm not going to. Okay, amazing. And then I cut enough to make a link to fit it through this flower. Okay, and now I'm just hooking it onto this flower, and then I will close the link. Oh no, oh no. Getting another flower out because I squished it and broke it. So let's get another flower. Luckily I have more of those. Now I know that they're fragile. So let's start this again. Open this link to get the broken part out. And in fact, while this is out, I am going to link it to this side so it's easier. Close the link. There we go. And then put it on this link. That way I won't have any issues, hopefully, about closing it. Good. And there we go. Nice and gentle. These were little wooden flowers. Okay. Okay, I love how that looks. Oh my goodness. Okay. And now we're going to take another 16 gauge wire and we're going to wrap this crystal. And I'm just going to do a wrap around it. So I'm going to put a little spiral at the bottom, not a big one, a little spiral backwards. And then you're taking the pointy end of the crystal to the bottom and gently just wrapping this around. And you'll need to adjust it. Just make sure when you're doing this that it stays in. That's what the little spiral at the bottom is, to help it stay in place. Perfect. And once you're satisfied with it, cut it off. And because I want it to be a little dangly, I'm going to add an extra loop so that it moves around a bit. So this loop is to hook it into the other loop. Good. And so it's going to sit nice and flat that way. And then take a scrap piece of 16 gauge wire and make one of those S links again on both sides. There we go. In fact, you got to open up the links. I always close them by accident, but keep them open. First link it onto here and then secure it in place like that, squishing it, flatten this, and then you might have to open it a little bigger to fit over the 10 gauge. There we go. And then for the top, oh, that's looking so good so far. For the top, you could do a bunch of things. I would first, to finish it off, put a nice big ring on it, probably with 16 gauge wire is fine. I'm using these pliers. I think they call them bale pliers, and I'm going to use the thickest thing at the bottom and just make a loop like this, cut it, and then it just makes it look finished for whatever you're putting dangling. Now, there's so many different things. You could put it on a leather strap, you could put it on a macrame cord, or you could do a bit of, and I'm thinking right now, you could do those just these S patterns, bigger S patterns with 16 gauge wire, and you could make a chain. Or you could make just a partial chain and then you could add something else if you get tired of making the chain, because it's a lot of repetition. Okay, because I'm going to hang this in the window, I could make this S-hook chain. It's super easy, but I think I'm just going to grab some cord and hang it like that. I decided just to do it on a cord, but if you wanted to do that S-hook chain, I have other tutorials that show you how to make that. I think I made a necklace once with that. We're just using some beige macrame cord. It's looking so good. And you can hang it in your window, you could hang it on the wall, whatever you decide. So today we're making a copper wire suncatcher that looks complicated, but is really just spirals, wraps, and a little bit of creative chaos. The materials you'll need today are round nose pliers, needle nose pliers, Bigger cutters, these are mini bolt cutters. Something to wrap the wire around that's big and something to wrap the wire around that's smaller. 12 gauge wire, 16 gauge wire, some beads, and a glass jar. This 12 gauge wire is approximately 1.5 meters or 51 inches. It's always better to have it a little longer, and you can always cut off the extra. Okay, with our 12 gauge copper wire, the first step, we're going to start from the bottom of the jar and work our way up. First, you need something to anchor the bottom of the jar so that it doesn't fall through, and that is where my spiral comes in. Okay, once I have the bottom spiral, I'm going to bend it like that. You can do it around the glass, you just have to be a lot more careful. If you have something of similar size, I recommend doing that. And then all you do is you take it and you wrap it around a few times. It all depends on the height of your jar. Now this was a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to back it out a bit to make these spirals just a little bit bigger. And then you test your jar, and as you test your jar, you're going to make it a little bigger, like that. And I'll show you how to lock the bottom in place. There we go, perfect, and one more. And then when you get to the bottom, this spiral right here, make sure that it's folded right across the bottom of the jar, like that. And now it is locked in place. Now, because we're going to be putting a chain going up, I want to make the top larger than the bottom. So I'm actually going to take this out, put that aside, and I am going to take the bigger container and wrap it around the bigger container. Now before I do that, I'm going to make one loop on this side, and that's so that I can add the chain to the top. Okay, there's a loop there, like that. And now I'm going to have a loop on the other side at the end. Okay, so I'm wrapping this around a bigger container, like that. And right across, I'm going to make another loop. Perfect. And I probably had this wire, you probably only needed even 1 meter, not 1.5 meters, but that's okay. Okay, these two are right across from each other, and then I'm going to finish the loop so that the circle goes all the way around. Perfect. And then I'm just going to cut off a little bit extra like that. And now we're going to test this again, putting it in, making sure it's nice and secure. And if you noticed, you need to put it back in the center, the bottle, like that. And then I am going to take the last part of the loop here and just do some sort of spiral. And this spiral could be going downwards there. The reason why I want the loop at the top bigger than the bottle is because you don't want the chain too close to the bottle. You want it farther away. So the chain's going to attach to this to leave some space for whatever you want to put in the bottle. Whether you want to put in even a crystal with water as a sun catcher, or you could put a candle, a low candle, plants, flowers, your favorite stones. So the chain is going to go here and work its way up. And I'll decide afterwards if I want to keep this spiral sitting out, or if in fact, I'll look at it right now. Do I want to? No, I'll wait. I might bend it down or bend it up, but I'm not sure. So this is ready and this is done. And now let's work on the chain. I'm just cutting 4 equal pieces of 12 gauge wires. And this is going to be for the S shapes or the S spirals. These ones are 16 centimeters or 6 inches. So I have 4 of those. And then for the top spiral up here, we're going to do a longer one. And this one is about 12 inches or 31 centimeters.
All right, let's make the hanging chains for this piece, because if the chains aren't close to the same length, your bottle starts leaning sideways and suddenly your elegant Suncatcher looks like it survived a windstorm. Start by making your 4 spiral sections from 12-gauge copper wire. And this part is way more about technique than strength. A lot of people try to muscle the spirals, but honestly, it's mostly in the wrist movement. Small guiding motions, steady pressure, and letting the wire naturally curve. These spirals do take practice, so don't panic if your first few look a little wonky. The funny thing about wire crafting is that slightly imperfect spirals still somehow look chic and intentional. The top S spiral is intentionally larger, so it acts as a decorative statement piece and gives the entire Suncatcher a more balanced, elegant look. Now let's hammer the S spirals, and this step makes such a difference. Not only does it strengthen the wire a bit, but it also gives the copper that beautiful flattened texture that catches the light way better. Now let's make the bead links. I'm using 16 gauge here because it actually fits through the holes in my beads without fighting me for 20 minutes. And speaking of beads, a lot of you ask where I find mine. Honestly, secondhand stores are amazing for this. You know those necklaces that are maybe a little busier than you'd actually wear? Perfect. Tiny treasure chest for future projects. I decided to use black and purple beads on each side because they add a nice contrast against the copper and give the whole piece a slightly moody, elegant vibe. Once both sides of the chain are assembled, place them beside each other to compare the lengths before attaching them. Next, attach the 3 beads to the bottom. These little dangles catch the sunlight beautifully and add that extra bit of movement and sparkle that makes the whole Suncatcher come alive. Then connect both chains onto the bottle frame and check the balance before fully closing your loops. We're aiming for beautifully balanced hanging bottle, not leaning tower of copper. Then attach the top spiral section using small loop connectors, kind of like tiny keychain loops. This lets everything move nicely and gives the piece a softer hanging motion.
Okay, and it's done. And what would you put in here? There's so many options for things to put in. We're turning a few simple lengths of copper wire, some beads, and a little bit of creativity into this elegant spiral Suncatcher. It looks intricate, but it is surprisingly beginner friendly. The materials you're going to need today are 10 gauge wire, 16 gauge wire, 20 gauge wire, and then hammer, steel block, bolt cutters, bail pliers, and flat pliers. You'll also need some beads or shells or something to add accents around the main frame. I am starting with a larger copper wire, so it's probably 70 inches or 175 centimeters. Funny, that's the measurement of my last craft. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and fold it almost in half. One of the wires is going to be a little longer. We're almost in the middle here. And this is 10 gauge copper wire. And we're just going to take our pliers. We'll probably be using these ones. I'm going to close this a little bit more. Not too much, but a little bit like that. And then we're going to do a spiral around here. And we're going to leave it fairly open. This is the center of the Suncatcher. So we're going to leave it fairly open. There we go. And the wire's banging on everything. In fact, right now I'm just going to use my fingers now. And we're just going to make this spiral as big as we can without it getting too floppy. Just like this. Perfect. This is going to be so cool. And because this wire is a little bit crooked, just kind of straighten out the crooked parts before you fold it around. But again, doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and then I'm actually thinking maybe a little more like that. Bringing it around. I think that's probably just good enough. Looking at it down here. Okay, this is such a fun, easy Suncatcher. Or whatever you want to, you can dangle it outside on your patio. Yep, I think this one's going to come around and then they're going to meet. Oh, actually, maybe I'll take advantage because there is a kink here, so we're probably going to end it there. So I want the Suncatcher going this way. So we're going to just twist it till there. And then this one is going to come around to meet this wire. There we go. I'm just testing. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So this is coming around like that, and we are done. Now what we're going to do here is both of these wires are going to twist upward like this, perpendicular. And this one, I'm going to twist up to match the other one. Like that. Perfect. This is going to be so cool. Okay, and now all I'm going to do for the moment, and it's good that these are a little bit wide apart there. To hold this sturdy, the beginner tip that we used last time actually worked rather well. So I'm going to do that again. And I'm going to wrap tape around this. Now, I'm probably going to do a thick wire wrap there so I can use the full tape. And this will just hold it while we're getting everything else set up. Perfect. And this is a very thick copper. So we're going to take, and we can take a moment to adjust. We're going to take some 16 gauge wire. It's going to be a little difficult to wrap 16 gauge around, but it'll work. It'll just hold the piece in place better. And you're going to hide the tape with the 16 gauge wire. Up and down. There we go. And then wrapping it up. Oh, this is looking so pretty. Just a little bit of 16 gauge wire to hide the tape. And it'll make it more sturdy. There we go. Sometimes it's hard to get started. I like to start in the middle of the wire so that it's a little easier. And moving it down like that. There. And you can also just hold in place with either a vise or just pliers, flat pliers. Just watch when you get down to the ends here, just watch you don't poke yourself. I used to have a lot of wounds from smaller gauge wires going into my finger, so just be careful. There. Okay, now that is looking great. And the next step is I'm going to do 2 spirals with this. I'm probably going to end up cutting a little bit off there, but we'll just see. And taking the pliers and doing a spiral at the top. Here we go. Funky. Okay. And then with this one, I want it bigger, but not too big. So I'm going to cut off about 6 inches there. And like I said, I have a kink here, so I'm just gonna try and straighten it as much as possible. But I'm anyway going to fold this over to this side so that when I make the spiral, it sits nicely. Perfect. And this takes some practice and some time. And you can just put this down so you don't have to turn your wrist so much. Oops. There we go. Adjust as you go. Oh boy. There we go. Take a moment to adjust because I accidentally made the spiral a little wonky, and that's okay. Now there's the kink right there, so I'm just going to try and lean into it a bit, create the design around it. Oh, so cool. Okay, so the next step is to make this big spiral flatter and a little more sturdy. I'm going to hammer, hammer, hammer. Okay, after you're finished hammering, you're going to want to adjust it just to make sure it's nice and flat and that the spirals are still in shape. And if you just like simplicity, you could stop there because it's really pretty. I am going to randomly place some beads that I have. I have some purple, black, and clear beads, and I'm just going to randomly place them on the craft using probably some 20 gauge wire. Now you're going to want to put a bead between here and here just to hold the spiral so it doesn't lose its form. So make sure you have one bead there at least, or have something, maybe an S-link if you're just keeping this simple. So I'm just cutting off some 20 gauge wire. Going to wire wrap it around a bit. Add a little bit of texture and then add the bead. So pushing it through, doing a few loops like that, and then adding the bead through. Oh, yeah, glad I didn't go with the larger size because that almost got stuck. Okay, and this one is wrapped, and then we're going to wrap it through here. And just take your time with this. This is where you can make your design your own. The structure is there, the base is there, and now it's just to make it look the way you want it to look. Shells would be nice. Of course, crystals would be nice. You could do tiny beads all the way through. That also would be nice. Okay, and I'm actually going to wrap down here just to add some texture. Large wraps until my next bead goes in. Yeah, it's looking really good. Okay, and I'll probably add a purple bead there. Here we go. Oh, that wire's a little kinked. Let's straighten it out a bit so I can get the bead there. In fact, no, I'm going to wrap that around, so that's fine. So we'll take that bead off, wrap it one more time around the base here, and then I don't have to deal with the kink. There. Like that, and then add the bead. Perfect. And we're going to go all the way around this. I'm going to space them fairly far apart. Maybe use these to pull it through. 20 gauge is a little harder, not too hard, but it's a little bit more difficult to work with. You could easily do a 22 gauge if your beads aren't so heavy, thick and heavy. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap it around here again, a bead randomly. I'm not measuring out where I'm adding the beads, or wrapping it loosely around the bigger spiral. just so you don't have wires crossing your spiral. Unless you love that design, then go for it. I'm just going to do it this way. You could also twist, like this spiral is pretty open. You could twist it like that so that the design is kind of three-dimensional. That would also be a cool idea. And maybe we'll do that in one design, but I'm not doing it right now. Okay, I'm probably gonna add another bead right here. And then now I'm working on this spiral. Like that, and this one, the wires, I'm just gonna cut off the wire because I'm out of wire now. And I will start a new piece. Taking a moment to adjust and tucking in those sharp edges, rounding them out. Oh, that's looking so cool. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so I'm on the outside here now, so I'll just keep going on the outside. Wrap this around a couple times. There we go. Then some loose spirals, like that. Lifting it up so it doesn't make so much noise in the microphone. And, oh, okay, maybe I'll put the microphone somewhere else. There. If I put the microphone too close to my mouth, it sometimes it sounds muffled, so I have to keep it further away. Okay, so now there, so now I'm going on the inside again. It's kind of like a little maze. I gotta figure this out. There. And I'm just making sure not to double up my colors, making sure they're spaced far enough apart. I'm going on the outside. That'll be good. Did I cross over it all? No, I did not. It just takes time. Just looking at the design. I get very impatient with wrapping like this, which I should probably just enjoy the journey. Perfect. And you can make it as busy or as simple as you want. I think these are going to catch the light nicely. I'm going to end it there. Cutting off the excess and taking time to adjust. And then taking time to reevaluate everything, move everything around, see if I want beads. Okay, this one needs to be pushed up a bit. There we go. Okay, I'm doing the same. Ideally you want that if it hangs in a window that both sides look good, so just take a check of both sides, make sure they're looking okay. You could also hang this on your wall if you wanted to. Ah, that is so cool. I love big spirals like this, and adding that here just makes it all so sturdy. What do you think? What would you do differently? I would love to hear in the comments below. Today we're creating this elegant copper wire sun catcher that looks intricate, but if you break everything apart spiral by spiral, it is actually beginner friendly, with just enough wire chaos to keep everything interesting. The materials needed today are a steel block for hammering, a hammer, wire cutters or bolt cutters, round nose pliers, and flat pliers. The wires we'll need are 12 gauge wire and 20 gauge wire, plus something to dangle in the center, whether it's a stone or beads or something. Okay, we're starting with 12 gauge wire, and I've cut it into 4 equal parts. I'm just going to measure for you. So that would be 15 inches or about 39 centimeters. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the pliers and fold it in half. So that's about half right there. Perfect. And we can do that to all of them. Doesn't have to be perfect, but as close as you can get it. You can measure this if you want. See, this one's a little bit shorter, so I'm just going to cut this off, and I'm actually going to cut a little bit off each one because I did that to the first one too. So there we go. This one was almost perfect, and I'm just cutting an equal part off. Perfect, because I had a little extra when I did this one. Okay, and then next we're going to take this and we're just going to do 2 spirals just like this. And just take the wire. I'm not sure if we're going to keep the bend open or closed yet. We're going to see how it looks with both and then decide at that time. So I'm just, take your time with these spirals. Make sure they're, well, you don't, it doesn't have to be, but try and keep them as even as possible on both sides. Perfect. And one more. There we go. I recognize that this one is a little more closed than this one was. I probably want to open that a bit. So I'm just going to open it again. And you know what? Maybe I'll use this to close it for the moment. So I'm reopening it. In fact, let's open it this way. Straighten it out a bit. There we go. And then we're just going to give it a bigger closing for now because I'm not sure if I want a tight close or not. So perfect. There we go. And now we're on to the next one. And before everyone in the comments asks me, where do I get the wire? This 12 gauge wire comes from the electrical stores, hardware stores, or electrical scraps. And you just have to take the plastic off. If you don't have, some hardware stores have some wires, just make sure it's real copper, and you take the plastic off with an X-Acto knife. Okay, I'm almost done spiral number 3. There we go, and here's the last one. Spirals just take practice. The more you do, the easier they become. And you can either move your wrist or you can just put your hand down and change your wrist on the pliers. There we go. Perfect, and almost done. Whew, I decided I would normally do a 12 gauge or 10 gauge wire with this because I really like structure, but today I decided to give our hands a rest, so we're doing 12 gauge because it's a lot softer and it doesn't need the stability. Okay, now that we have these and we can tweak them in a minute. In fact, I'm going to open this one up again and fasten them around here to make it bigger. There we go. Well, that one's a little wonky. Let's open that again. Everything about wire is just adjust, adjust, adjust. And if you make 100 of the same thing, you wouldn't need to adjust, but I make one of a kind right now. So I adjust as I go. There. Okay, now I was wondering what I was going to do with this, if I'm going to keep them open or if I'm going to keep them closed. So I'm just testing it out right here. I'm realizing that this is a little further down. There we go. Okay, so I'm just opening it to see if that's what I want to do. Okay, that's really pretty with it open, and then I could put something in the middle. And that is really pretty. Now let's see how it is when they're closed. So you can decide if you keep these open or if you keep them closed. Going to close this one. This one needs to be closed around something because it's so small there. So I'm just going to close it like this. Okay. In fact, I'll do that with all of them just to keep the size in the middle the same. Perfect. There we go. And now I'm going to test it like that. Oh, I think I like it better closed. Yep, so that looks great. I'm going to keep them closed, but you decide. And now on to the part that you really need to have some headphones for. I've been getting tips and tricks on how to make this so that it doesn't hurt your ears so much, and I love that. And then it brought me to an idea. You could also put it on a piece of rubber. You could put a rubber underneath so that it doesn't echo so much, but I use these and they work just fine. So we will be back when I finish hammering. Okay, now that we're finished hammering it, I've been adjusting it like that and just seeing where I want it. And I want these a little bit closed, so that's good. And now we're on to wrapping it. So I'm actually taking 22 gauge wire because I find it's easier to wrap these things with 22 gauge first. So that's what we're going to do. Now this is going to just take your time with this. And we're going to keep coming back to make sure that we've wrapped it in the right place and that everything's sitting okay. So wrap it nice and tight. I'm going to pick it up. Oops, there we go. And I could use the vise for this, and I might. I'm just testing if I can do it like this. Yep, this is going nicely, staying nice and tight. Like that. Good. Okay. And I'm making sure that these are nice and tight and together. And pushing through. And this might get a little frustrating until you have it, but just take some patience. You only see the on-screen me, you don't see the off-screen me. And sometimes I do get frustrated and then I turn off the camera. So keep it going. I actually made one of these years ago, but I actually soldered them together instead of wire wrapping. But I thought today we would try wire wrapping it because soldering needs a few more tools. Okay, I'm not going to fully cut these wires off yet in case I need to adjust something, but then bring it back to the center. Good, and now you're going to be on to this piece, but make sure the wire is nice so that it's all positioned. So you're going to come back to this a lot just to make sure everything's positioned the way you want it. Okay, on to the next one. You could also put like a mark on your copper to know where you're going to wrap it on both sides. That's a good idea too. And I'm just lifting it up. And I haven't decided what I'm putting in the center yet. I guess it just depends on the space. There we go. Ugh. Perfect. This is actually going a lot easier. So I definitely recommend the 22 gauge wire. The 20 gauge wire is fine. It's just, it's not as malleable. So it takes a little more strength to be able to pull it through and wrap it tight. There we go. Wow, that's looking nice. Okay, a couple more. And you can always take your flat pliers and you can push it together, which I will be doing in a minute. Okay, so you notice mine's a little wonky there, so I'm going to take the pliers and just squeeze it together on both sides. Tighten the loop. Perfect. Good to know that I don't need the vise if I don't want to using this. Okay. I'm going to try and answer some of the comments that I've been getting. If you're looking at any of these materials, you can go to my website, and on my website I have links to a shop in Amazon where you can find my favorite tools. They're just affiliate links, but I've been getting a lot of comments on where do you get this steel block, or, you know, what are these called? These are called bail pliers, I guess. I never knew that. When I did jewelry, I never had access to stuff like this. Okay, and then the next one. Now I've noticed that this is slipped in a bit, so I'm going to move it. And that's why you don't want to finish completely, because you need to adjust. And I've noticed that this has come in a bit. Okay, and that looks perfect. So we're readjusting everything. Yep, good. And here's one more. There we go. And it can get awkward. Perfect. See, and right now you're probably thinking, oh, at home, if you're doing this craft, it's a mess. I don't want to continue. Keep going. Because crafts always kind of look wonky before they start to become amazing. That's what I've learned. I used to give up halfway through because I thought it looked ugly. And I missed out. Because you just keep going. Right now at this craft, it's like, oh, this isn't working. What's going on? Just keep going. It'll work. Okay. And now we're on to the next one. We got to readjust. And this is where it's all going to come together. So make sure it's in the position you want. And doing the last one. Okay. And maybe while I do the last one, I'll hold it like this so that it doesn't lose its form so much. But we're going to readjust and readjust and readjust. Let's see. Here we go. If you're hearing a snoring in the background, that's my St. Bernard. I forgot to take her out of the room. And yeah. Okay. Almost there. And a very satisfying part, let's cut the wires. It'll just clean it all up and it will come together. Right now it looks really messy. There we go. We're cutting them as close as we can, and then we're going to smooth them down. There we go. Okay, and then just take a minute to adjust your wires to make sure there's no pokey parts sticking out. Amazing. And then readjust like that. Okay, it's looking perfect. Now I have to decide what I want to put in the center, and you can put a crystal, and maybe I'll put a crystal today. You could do anything. I think for the bottom, I'm going to do some beads and a spiral, so stand by. Okay, I finally decided. I'm doing similar to the other project. I have a little wooden flower that I got at the craft store and another green glass bead. And then I have some scraps from a previous project. So this is just 3 beads on a 16 gauge copper wire which I'm going to hook to the bottom. So for this one, we're going to start by making a spiral at the bottom, like this, and we'll make it not too big. There we go. Perfect. And then twist it so that it comes up. Put the glass bead on. Oops, it's upside down. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut it off and make sure it hooks nicely. We're going to hook it onto this flower first. And these flowers, I've learned, are very delicate, so I have to be very careful not to smash them. Good. Okay, now I have the delicate flower, and now we're going to hook it onto the top. Okay, so now I have it like that, and I have put a long link on top of it so that it dangles from the top. And I'm just going to put this all together. I've had this scrap from the previous craft, and I was just going to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link these together and put an S-link on it, like that, and close it. Perfect. And close the top part of this one. And then from the S-link here, that is dangling right here, we're going to put on this one in the middle. And we're going to close both of these like that. Oh, perfect. Okay, and now it's sitting nice in the middle. And then I'm just going to do my last thing, which is to dangle this. This was also from a previous project, and it is just 3 crystals on the same 16 gauge copper wire with a spiral on the bottom. Oh, perfect. So cute. Love it. What do you think? Would you have done anything different? What else would you have added? Would love to hear them in the comments below.
Suncatchers and plant sticks have been all the rage this year, so I thought I would make one more. The materials you're going to need today are 12 gauge wire, 16 gauge wire, and then some either beads or crystals or shells, whatever you want to do. And then, of course, bail pliers, flat pliers, steel block, hammer, mini bolt cutters or some good wire cutters, and then something like a cylinder. You can use a ring mandrel, or you can use something else that is the similar size. Welcome to my new studio. Bear with me while I work out the design, but this is it for now. Today we're going to be working with 12 gauge copper wire, and this might be too big, but I'd like to start with bigger than smaller. I'm starting today with 70 inches or 175 centimeters. Okay, we're just going to fold the wire in half like that, and then take a round cylinder object, and you could use like a long piece of wood. They sometimes have these things that look like dowels, but they're long. You could use one of those, anything with the size about the shape, size of a ring or a little bit smaller, a pinky ring. And we're just going to, and I'm going to move a few things out of the way because this wire is going to move around. It might be a good idea to wear glasses for this. And I'm just going to shape this wire around like that. It's kind of like my flower, but without a spiral in the middle. And now that I have a loop, I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to shape this around the loop. Whoops. Like that. Perfect. And we're going to look at it to make sure we're going the right direction. Okay, and doing another one on this side. And we're going over the last one. And on the other side, we're going to go under. So we're going to do several of these loops, and each time I'm just going to flatten it out. You can probably do this at the end too, but I like to just flatten as I go. In fact, that one is looking a little bit too close to the other one, so I'm just pulling it back. The good thing with a 12 gauge wire is that it is more malleable than the 10 gauge. And again, we're going over. When we do the other side, we're going to go under. So we're going over like that. Perfect. And moving the wire around, flattening it out. And another one. And you're using, if you're going to use a mandrel, ring mandrel like I'm using, you got to use the same height, size each time or pretty close to it. Okay, taking a moment to adjust because I noticed that this loop is overlapping the other loop. So we're just taking a moment to adjust. Perfect. And it's looking great so far. So let me do another one. And then over the last one. Good. And it's fairly easy once you get the technique. It's actually really easy. It just might be a little bit awkward sometimes. And you got to move out of the way of the wire. But it's fairly easy to do. Good. I'm going to do a couple more on this side, and then I'm going to start on the other side. See, now that I've got the rhythm, it's going a little faster. Perfect. And I'm just going to actually go again. Perfect. And I'm going to start now on the other side. Just flattening it out. Now, on the other side, it's going to be, I believe it's going to be the opposite. Let me just see. When we go on the opposite side, we're going to go under the wire like that. There, so just readjust. There we go. And again, we're going to go under the wire this time on this side. So one direction, you're going over the wire, and then the next direction, you're just doing the opposite, which is going under the wire. Okay, good. Another one. Yep, that's looking really good. There we go. And perfect. And we're just going to keep going till we have about a foot left. Okay, perfect. Oh, that one. And I'm just going to take a moment to flatten it all out. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just try and keep them to the similar size. But it's okay if it's not. It doesn't have to be the same exact size. There we go. Just make sure when you're looking, see that one's a little smaller. Oops. Oh, well. They're not overlapping too much. Good. I'm going to do another one. After working with 10 gauge wire a lot, 12 gauge is a lot easier. We don't need as much stability for this project, so 12 gauge will be fine. Over and yeah. Okay, a couple more. These Suncatchers have been so popular this year. And garden sticks, they've also been popular. If you have any ideas for more crafts, please always put them in the comments below. I love starting new crafts. I saw one follower subscriber do a rain stick or a rain, I don't know what it was actually called. I've never even heard of it before, but it was very pretty. And I love all of the garden sticks that you guys are sending me. Those are incredible. It just makes me so happy that people are actually doing the crafts that I'm teaching. Very cool. Keep it up. And all the variations are really cool too. Okay, I'll probably do, you want to have, well, you don't need equal parts, but we're going to put this around a bottle soon. Or a round container to shape it better. So we just need to know how much we need to go. Okay, I'm going to leave it about there. Let me just see. Oh, I'd like to do a little bit more. I think I'm going to do a few more just to make sure. So maybe 2 more on each side, I think. Okay. There we go. Even maybe 1 more on each side, because I want to save space for the spiral. In fact, this side is longer, so I'm going to do 2 more on this side for sure. Now this side, around and over. And the other side around and under, this side around and over. And you'll see what I mean if you do the opposite. You'll see that it's not looking uniform if you do it the other way. Okay, that's looking great. In fact, maybe I'll do an oval. I don't even need to wrap it around a bottle. I love that look right there. I was going to do it round, but I think I'll just do it oval. So that's perfect. And so the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pliers in and fold this way. And pliers and fold it that way. And then I'm going to close this. Oh yeah, that's looking really good. Okay, cool. And so some of you have been asking about wire wrapping and how to hold these things together. And I thought of a tip that I think we'll try today. And we'll see if it works. Using some clear tape. This one's not as clear as I would like it. In fact, I'm going to cut this in half. Lengthwise. Just to make it more narrow. As I'm not going to do a wrap that wide. And we're going to see if this works. Just to do a fun tip. So I'm going to take the tape and wrap it around the top. Like that. And that way, it won't move around while you're trying to wrap it. And you won't see it. Okay, well that holds it together. So you won't see it because you're going to wrap the wire around. On this one, I think I'm going to do a 20 gauge wire wrap around the top. Like this. Probably about this much. And I like to start my wraps in the middle so that you do half up going up and half going down. Like that. And you could add some beads to this wrap if you want. And you could also hold the 2 wires like that to wrap or put it in a vise. And this is going really nicely. There we go. works rather well. Super easy, so less frustrating, because I know sometimes it's frustrating to keep these two together while you're wrapping, and I just see it spreading apart a bit, so I'm just squeezing it back together. Perfect. Like that. Nice. And I've almost covered up all of the tape. There we go. This side has covered up all the tape, so I'm going to cut that off. And this just has a few to go. So a cute or a quick hack so that you don't get frustrated while wrapping two wires together like this is a little piece of clear tape. Or a vise. Or positioning your pliers, either one. There we go. Perfect. And then I'm going to squish these together again and cut them off at the back. And there we go. And then squish them closed. Make sure there's nothing poking out at you. Oh, perfect. Yay. And if you wanted to, you could also hammer to flatten this out a bit. I might do a light hammer. I'm not going to do a huge hammer, just to make sure that it sits flat. Yes, so stand by. Okay, the light hammer worked rather well. And now I'm going to work on the top pieces. And I'm going to do a similar one to what I had the last Suncatcher. And if you haven't seen the last one, go to my channel. I have a website, twirlcraftstudio.com. And you can see it categorized into Suncatchers, into plant sticks, into copper wire pendants, and other things. Okay, so I'm just taking a moment. And these I will definitely hammer because I love the look of hammered spirals. Oh, there it is. I kind of made this spiral look wonky. I was going pretty quick. So I'm just fixing. Okay, awesome. There we go. And then doing the others. Perfect. And I'm just deciding, I think I'm going to do a similar design to the last one on the top where this spiral is on top of the other one. So what I need to do is I made it a little more spread apart and I'm just moving it over. Yes, it looks so cute that way. Okay. Perfect. And then that way it's over the top and it still hangs properly. And now I'm just going to hammer these ones. Now this is the part where you just work with what you have and you make it your own. I've been going back on several different designs and I've decided on a pendant that I made. If you want to learn about this pendant, you can go to my tutorial on copper wire pendants. And I think I'm going to put that in the center. It's got some obsidian, and then this is an old jade serpentine bead that I had. If you don't have this, you could use glass beads, shells, crystals, marbles even. So just work with what you have. We're going to use some 16 gauge wire to attach it. Many of you have been asking me, saying that you can't find glass beads or especially the big ones like this. Soon I will have links on my website for glass beads, but another option is to go to secondhand stores, and sometimes they have glass beads around really big necklaces that you can't see you wearing as a necklace, and you can just cut it up and use the glass beads from there. So that's just a tip. But like I said, I will have more to come on my website. So now this pendant that, of course, I just said the tutorial is on my website. We're going to put that in the middle and we're going to attach this. Now I have to figure out how I'm going to do this. So I think I'm going to just do a wire wrap with the 16 gauge wire and then a loop on the bottom here. So we're just taking the 16 gauge wire like that and looping it around. Probably once like that. And then I'm just going to flatten it out like that. And then we're going to bring it around and to the bottom. And you're going to want it in the center, sort of like that. And then this 16 gauge just goes around and you're just going to cut it off and flatten it. There we go. And we're just going to flatten that design. And then we're going to make a loop with this one. I'm actually going to do a little bit of an S shape. Just like that. Perfect. And now you have, and just take a minute to adjust it to what you want. See, mine's, I want it a little dangly like that, but I am going to just close the back a bit more. There. And now I have an S in the center. And I'm going to add this bead. This one has a hole that fits the 16 gauge wire, so we're good. I think I'm just going to do a simple loop to hang it. Like that, and then on the other side. So just cut enough space so that you can do a loop on the other side. There we go. Perfect. I need to close that more, and I need to adjust this more, so I'm going to lift it up and adjust. Perfect. Okay, and now I'm going to add this and close the loop like that, and then we're going to open the loop again to add this pendant and then close. Okay, it's looking so good so far. So also, just a tip. In fact, should it be this side? It should probably be this side. Just a tip as well. You could add beads through all of these holes right here, which would be really nice. I'm going to take this little crystal and have it dangling from the bottom here. I will use 16 gauge wire just to hold it in place. We're going to do just a spiral, an open spiral at the bottom like this. And this helps hold the bottom of it in place. And then you just pick it up like that. You've got a nice little spiral now, and that's going to go at the bottom of your crystal. And then you're just wrapping it around like that. Perfect. And then on the top, securing it nicely in place. In fact, I think I need to open this up again because I need a little bit more protection for the crystal. So I'm moving the crystal up. There we go. That's nice. And then closing it again. Everything is just about adjusting, making sure the stone that you are wrapping is nice and sturdy. And then we're just going to add a loop here. Like that. Good. And that's going to go at the bottom. I will do another, just an S loop so that this dangles. So we're just doing an S loop here. There we go. And then it will dangle. And then opening it up. Attaching. And opening this side. Attaching it. And this is the time when you just take a moment to decide if you're going to add something else or if it's done like that for you. Okay, I decided that I was going to keep it fairly simple, but I'm going to add 2 spirals on these 2 sides. So I took 16 gauge wire, about 6 inches or 15 centimeters, and I'm just going to do spirals and zigzags. Just to give it a little bit extra. There we go. And oh yeah, that's nice. And then I'm just going to do a zigzag back and forth. Like that. And you can decide if you want to put a bead on this, if you're even going to do this. The finishing touches are kind of however you'd want to design it. There we go. I was going to put beads all the way through or wrapping, but I just thought it was too busy for my liking. So yeah, this is what I'm going to do. Okay. And that looks good. I'm just going to do the other side now. And it's going to go in opposite directions, the spirals. One is going to go one way and the other one is going to go the other. You can still make the spiral the same. It's just you flip it over for the other side, of course. There we go. And I will be hammering these just to flatten them out. There we go. I'm just going to take a minute to hammer them to give them some lovely texture, and I'll be back. They're looking good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off a little bit like that, and I'm going to do an S hook so they dangle, just like the other one. So we're just cutting off. So you're going to be the same on each side. So this one needs a little bit more cut off. Okay, and then we're making a loop here. And this loop is going sideways so that the S hook goes the other way. I'm going to close this up a bit. There we go. There. That looks nice. And then just try and do it on the other side. Oh, I can't even remember where I had the right. And then 2 small S hooks here. Just to fit around. I'll use this side. Probably should have cut both even pieces so that I'm pretty even on both sides. And open the other side up and attach them. And then we are almost done. I would love to hear in the comments how you would design this differently or the same, or what would you put in the center. That would be lovely. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.